All right, everyone, welcome back to another That's So Mets live stream, and we are very happy this week to be joined by an old friend of the show, Jake Mangum, Mets prospect. Jake was one of maybe our first guests on the That's So Mets podcast, which is crazy to think about at this point. So, Jake, we're really glad to have you back on. What's going on, man?
Man, just down here in Port St. Lucie, and just getting some work in before spring training starts. Hopefully, we'll be on time, but we'll see.
Joe, I know you wanted to ask about that, so jump right on in.
Yeah, so you're down in St. Lucie now already early, getting training. So are you training at the team complex? And, what are you trying to accomplish prior to spring training actually kicking off?
I came down here to work with a couple guys. Zach Ashford, Matt O'Neill, Matt Winokur are down here right now. A bunch of rehab guys are down here right now. Haven't seen the rehab guys yet, but being able to just be around guys that are, all sharing the same ultimate goal that you have is awesome. And when you get guys around each other like that, you're going to work harder, work smarter, and it's been a good fit. We got Hetz feeding us, BP machine. It's been really, really good.
Jake, are you at the point now where you're like comfortable in the organization, right? Like you've been through all of the, being a new guy or, bouncing around. And now you're at the point where you're like, okay, I'm coming back this year. And I think you would know where you're going to be starting off and what your end goals are. Is there a comfort level yet?
Of course. The Mets have been fantastic to me. Still being with the same team that drafted me, it's not common, I guess you could say. I mean, there's a lot of movement and turnover in professional baseball, but the Mets have been nothing but awesome to me. I don't know where I'll start this year, but all I can do is control what I can control, and let's try to put together another good year, another good body of work, and help the Mets win some ball games. I'd say that's the biggest thing for me is all Mets fans, everyone in the organization, we're all striving for the ultimate goal of a Major League World Series. And I haven't played a game in the major leagues yet, so that's the first step. But to be a good teammate along the way, to work hard, help make the people around you better is the best thing you can do. And for me, that's all I can really ask for right now.
So you mentioned winning a World Series. That's obviously the goal of the big league team, and they're trying to make steps with a huge offseason prior to the lockout. So as a prospect, how much do you pay attention to what the big league team is doing, with free agent signings and trades and things like that? And what were your thoughts on the big moves that they did? Scherzer, Marte, Canna, those guys.
Look, Steve Cohen's coming in. He's trying to just bust that door down to a World Series. And I think that all Mets fans need to take a deep breath sometimes and realize that you have an owner that is a Mets fan. So he is going to do everything in his power to help bring a World Series to the New York Mets organization. And all season moves that they made were fantastic. As you know, I think that they added some depth to the major league level. I think that a lot of big signs. I mean, obviously, our starting rotation now is going to be the best in the league if everyone can stay healthy. As far as, what's going on in the minor leagues right now, what I can speak for is, man, we got a lot of guys that have a lot of talent. And I don't know if all these minor leaguers in the Mets organization are going to play for the Mets one day, but I do know that there are a ton of big leaguers in the Mets minor league system. That for a fact. Like, there's so much talent, there's so many guys that work hard. And when you have talent mixed with, hard work, it's a great combination. But I love what the Mets are doing right now. All the moves that they've made have been awesome. I mean, I think this is a very exciting offseason for all Mets fans out there.
So last year, obviously, you closed the year in Double-A, and the Mets were a team that early on in the year just went through an unbelievable amount of injuries, especially in the outfield. And that's just baseball right now. Like, every team's going to get hurt, especially by the midway point of the season. What's it like this year where, you're not starting out in A ball, you're starting out in a league where it's like, okay, like a couple injuries away and I start out hot, maybe get that early call up or maybe start out in Triple-A, whatever it may be. Doesn't it like get the juices flowing a little bit that it's like, okay, maybe this is actually the year that I'm just a couple moves away from being that next guy up on the outfield bench and a couple starts and things like that?
For me, it's whenever I got drafted, I said, look, you got about a 4 or 5 year window that it's actually doable. And 4 or 5 is pushing it at this point. A 2 to 3 year window to really do it. So I was like, look, I'm going to go all in. I'm going to go all in on this. I'm going to work my tail off. sacrifice some things that I would like to do right now with my spare time just to go all in on this. And that's been the kind of mindset the whole entire time. Nothing's changed now that I'll be upper level minor starting off this year. It's the same process. It's the I'm going to work my tail off and try to play every game like it's my last. That's one thing I know that I can control, and that's what I plan to continue to do. But look, I mean, yeah, there's no doubt the goal would be to start in AAA this year. I would love to move up a level when the season starts. That's fantastic. But all I can do is come into spring training ready to go and perform well at spring training. And wherever they send me, I'm going to go there with a good attitude, ready to roll and try to win some ball games.
You attended Mississippi State University. What's in the water in Starkville, and why do the Mets like it so much?
I got to give my man Joel Coleman, Mississippi State beat writer. He coined that message. He coined that. So I got to give him credit there. Yeah. That's fantastic. I mean, look, obviously I love it. I love it because, Mississippi State's a dear place to me. They'll always hold a special place in my heart. But I can tell all the Mets fans out there that, like, everyone we're getting from Mississippi State, those guys are really, really good, and they all work really hard. Hard work goes a long way. I know I'm going to keep saying that, but it goes a long way. I think it outplays talent over the course of time. But Rowdy Jordan, Cole Gordon, JT Ginn, me, that's 4 players, an area scout, Jet Butler, who's kind of been putting this together. And he's one of the best area scouts in the business, man. He was Scout of the Year for the Mets in 2019 with an awesome signing class in his area in 2019. Jet Butler's a rock star, and the Mets should be very thankful that they have him to see and overview talent of the future Mets. And then, of course, Buck Showalter to cap things off. That makes 6 in the organization. I love it, man. Buck Showalter is a home run hire. It's really cool to see how the Mets are taking this step analytically, like most of baseball right now. But to see them hire an old school guy that has a good feel of how to handle guys, how to handle a clubhouse, I think that's a perfect mix. Now, I'm not saying I haven't spent enough time with Buck. Well, I met him when I was in college. He's got a great sense of humor. I can say that. And, I was fired up when I heard the hire. I actually texted Joe a long time ago. He tweeted something and was saying, like, who we should hire. And I was like, Buck Showalter. Like, yeah. This was like back in
I think it was
early in the search. And sure enough,
it was super early. It was like that disappear text where, like, it's hidden behind or whatever. I don't even know exactly what it's called, but I'm like, what is this? And then I just scroll over it and it just says Buck Showalter. That was it. That was the whole text.
Yeah. And then sure enough, we got him. And I think it's a great hire, and I think he's going to be great for the organization. And I'm not saying Buck doesn't know analytics. He's a baseball mind, and I know that he's just like any other baseball guy that understands that change happens over time. And this analytical driven wave of baseball lately, I think that he's going to be really up to date with it. And I think that the good mix of him kind of understanding, having so many years and such a great body of work of so many baseball players is going to be really, really good with this fit.
It's pretty clear the Mets fans now follow Mississippi State. They're on to the trend, and obviously you still follow the program closely. We have our first question from Gamers 2.0 who said, in the next MLB draft, should the Mets target fellow Mississippi State Bulldogs like Landon Sims and Tanner Allen? Jake, I think you know your answer here, but what about those guys early on?
Well, Tanner Allen got drafted by the Marlins.
Logan Tanner. I think he confused for Logan Tanner.
Yes,
okay, so we got a little typo there.
So
that's his fault. I know Landon was a freshman last year.
Landon was unhittable last year. He was our closer, and he absolutely slammed the door. Logan Tanner, Landon Sims, both would be great additions. They would be fantastic additions. So there's a lot of other guys on that team, man. I think Luke Hancock's going to have a breakout year, or not a breakout year. I think he's going to have a big year this year. He was there for me early on in his Mississippi State career, but there's a lot of guys. Cam James. There's a long list of talent at that team right now. We just can't. I wasn't there for it, but Mississippi State just came off a national championship this year, and that kind of goes back to the World Series thing. Look, I'll tell you right now, I had a really good college career, and turn the page from that and all that. But look, man, I would trade a lot of those hits or a lot of those good games for a World Series ring. Seeing Mississippi State win it this past year was awesome. Don't get me wrong. I loved it. I was celebrating with Cole Gordon and the Richmond Flying Squirrels visiting locker room when it happened. but man, like it really hurts. Like I'll go to my graves, like, and that's one thing that bothers me. And I don't want. And look, I want to make it to the big leagues. Like, don't get me wrong. There's steps involved with this, and like this is an overall process of things. But man, winning a World Series ring would be a dream come true. Like that would. Man, that would be fantastic, and that's one thing that's like the one big regret I have in baseball is not winning that title in college. And I was happy to see the guys do it after we left, but the first year. But overall, just that's the ultimate goal, man. It really is.
So I'll get back to you in a second. I wanted to ask one more question about Sims. They're transitioning him back to a starter this year. How do you think he's going to do transitioning from closer to starter, which is what Cole Gordon did, right? I mean, he was a closer at Mississippi State his last year. Starting
Cole Gordon was a first baseman for 2 years, and then was like, sure, I'll pitch. And it's just saying, me like, dude, we had so many injuries my sophomore year.
Yeah,
we had so many injuries, and heck, I pitched on Sunday. Cole Gordon grabs the ball, starts pitching. So we have like Cole Gordon in the organization. He's a fresh pitcher. Like this dude just figured out kind of how to pitch, and we saw it in college. And then this year he just took off in AA baseball, and he's going to pitch for a long time, man. I'm very confident of saying that he's going to pitch for a long time. He works hard. He's a freaking bulldog competitor on the mound. And the nicest dude ever. He's the nicest dude ever, but when he's on the mound, it's a different mindset, and I love it. I love playing behind him. I'll tell him that all the time. I'll tell him every time he takes the mound, I love playing behind you, and I got your back in center field.
You mentioned the analytical approach that the Mets are moving towards, and I don't think I'm out of place saying you're sort of like that old school grinder kind of player. So when you take this new information, like what have you learned from that you think has helped your game the most in the last year, now that you're kind of getting more of that information in front of you?
Well, for me, it's a little different. And I've told this story a couple times to a couple people, but look, in college, I had a lot of success, but the success I had was not what professional teams like. I knew my role. I was the leadoff hitter for Mississippi State for 4 years. I wanted to get on base and let the big boys drive me in. That was the plan. I was skinny as all heck in college. It's like 160 to 175 pounds over 4 years. But I didn't try to drive the baseball. That wasn't my approach. If I was hitting left-handed, I was trying to hit a one-hopper to the 6-hole. That was my approach, and I succeeded at it. And if it was one of those things, it was like, if it's not broke, don't fix it. If I had 3 really good years and I roll into senior year trying to sell out for home runs, it's like, why? Like, I knew my role on the team. I knew what helped us win. We were really good for 4 years. And honestly, 2 of our teams had no business of being good. We weren't this uber talented Mississippi State crew. We were a bunch of gritty dudes that got after it. We were swamped with the injury bug, a ton of Tommy Johns. But I knew my role. I knew my role, and just like everybody else on the team knew their role as the team. And my role was to get on base. And it wasn't appealing to Major League Baseball. So a thankful thing of my career was, I'd say, my short season in 2019 in Brooklyn. I hit 250 with no power numbers, and it was the first time where I didn't hit 350 or higher. So it was the first time where the game kind of slapped me in the face, and it was like, hey, you need to change something. You need to adapt or you're going to die in this game. And that short season allowed me to understand I got to go make some changes. And I got after it that off season, rolled into spring training. I thought I was ready to go. And COVID hit in 2020. We didn't have a season. But I didn't really get down. It was one of those things. It was like, look, thank God for this opportunity that now I have more time to adapt my game. I continued to put on weight. It gave me a year and a half to put on weight, and a year and a half to change my swing mechanics, a year and a half to change my intent in the box, which is a big thing. In college, could I have hit 8 or 9 home runs? Maybe, if I sold out for them, but my average would have sacrificed, and that doesn't help my team in that situation. But now in pro ball, I understand that you got to drive the baseball. You got to drive the baseball. CNI singles really don't appeal to many, hitting coaches or, major league organizations. So you got to drive the baseball. Now, look, that doesn't mean I want to get away from my backside singles. Like, they're still there in the back pocket, but you got to go in the box and do some damage. And that's the big thing. I've been trying to make that adjustment this past year in Binghamton. Loved where I was at after a year off from baseball. I have a slow start. I'm trying to figure out my identity in the box. It was a big change. It was a risk too, man. Like all of 2020, I'm sitting there like, man, what are you doing? Like you've had this great career and now you're completely changing everything. It was nerve wracking, man. It was nerve wracking. And I go into 2020, confident, ready to roll, slow start, but it started to click for me. And the big thing was pitch selection and intent in the box.
Wow. Yeah. What do you think it was? I mean, those are obviously the answer, but there was a obviously period in Binghamton you get the call up, and at some point Joe and I watch from afar. We're like, okay, like something's clicking. Like you just got hot, and that's the game, right? Like everybody, like good hitters get hot eventually. It's just a matter of time. But like when you go from A ball to double A, not just the move from Brooklyn upstate to Binghamton, what is like, is there that adjustment period, right? And even in the outfield, like, does the outfield feel different? Like, are the hitters are obviously much different. The pitching's on another level in double A ball. Like, I think a lot of people forget it just takes time, right? It just takes a lot of at bats and seeing it.
Yes, it does. I'd say most of the time, yeah. But for me, it was a little different, man. I think it was just the big thing for me was completely changing my game, having a year off, and then just cranking it back up again with this new swing, new intent, new approach. That was the big thing. I needed to get settled in. I needed to get some at bats. And defensively, though, I'd say it's not different. I'd say every level is the same defensively. Yeah, and I'm confident in saying that because I've been on a stage in Omaha. I've been on a stage of a Saturday night in Duty Noble Field with 16,000 people.
Yeah.
That really care if you win or lose, like the New York Mets fans. And so I defensively, man, it's all the same. It's go catch the dang ball, and that's all it is, man. Defensively, I've always said I want the pitching staff to know that we got a guy in center field that's going to go track that dang ball down. And I've been really happy, with my center field work, and that's big thanks to my dad. Man, we got to work when I was young in the outfield, and that's a big game I hang my hat on. But offensively, it did take time. The A ball to double A, it wasn't as big of a jump as I thought it would be. For me, it was myself, man. It was what I did. A pitcher can be as good as he wants, but there's talent at every level.
Everyone's throwing hard everywhere now.
Yeah, it's to the point now where it's like you're in college and you're facing 98, 99.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Now it's the same thing. It's if a pitcher makes a good pitch, there's not much you can do with it. So it's take the borderline stuff early in the count. It's take the balls, don't swing, don't chase, and get a pitch you can drive and drive it. It's as simple as that. And once that kind of started clicking for me, I took off.
So you were talking about your defense. Center field typically is like the quarterback of the outfield that really kind of helps position the guys on either side of you. And I think I told you about this back last summer. We had Mark Vientos on episode of Mets Perspective, our video series on SNY. And I asked him about the impact that you had on him because he was playing outfield for the first time in his life in Double A. And I'll tell you, man, that smile got this big. And he was just like, I don't think I could have done it without Jake. He told me where to position myself, where to be. Like, couldn't have heaped bigger praise on you. So how much like pride do you take in that ability to just know where everyone should be, not just yourself?
Well, look, man, I'm a pretty high energy guy. And I talk a lot, with my teammates and stuff in the clubhouse. So me and Mark had a great relationship. We lived down the hall from each other in our apartment complex. Mark's a superstar, man. He's going to play baseball for a long time. And whether he's third base, outfield, who cares? He'll figure it out, and he'll keep progressing as he works hard, and he'll figure out the defensive side. And I think he already has started to. He was really open to what I had to say in the outfield, and I appreciated that. For someone that's never played outfield and then talking to me, someone who's played center field his whole entire life, it meant a lot to me. It was one of those things where it made it a lot easier because I knew eventually I was going to have to say some things about how to run routes, how to catch stuff, but he was really open to it, and I really appreciated that. But Mark's great, man. He was really fun to play with, and we were locker buddies, all that good stuff. We were around each other a lot, and I did my best to help out as best I could. But he's a great baseball player, man. He's gonna play for a long time.
Do you go into the spring with any like specific goals, or even the season with specific goals, or are you more just one day at a time?
Just for right now, leading into spring training is get better every day. Get your workouts in, do them well, work hard, and keep tweaking stuff in the cages. Not really tweaking, but just, being open to new ideas, but understanding what works for you. And that's what's so hard with pro baseball is it's every day, man. You got 5 at bats coming up that day, whether you want them or not. So it's being in a good place mentally and being in a good place just to be able to trust your work. If you work hard, then you got nothing to regret. That's the big thing for me. If I go all in on this while I'm grinding, I'll have nothing to regret. And that's where I was at in this past year in Binghamton. When I was going through struggles early, it was, hey, you worked your tail off in 2020. So there's absolutely nothing to regret. There's nothing to worry about because you did everything you could. So let's go out there and just trust your game.
This past week on the podcast, we had a question from a fan, a fun one that we hit, which was if you had to create a dream golf foursome, including yourself, for us, they asked us all-time Mets. So I know that golf is becoming more a part of your life. I heard you on the Bo Bound show kind of talk about golf in a little bit. If you could make that dream foursome, including only Mets prospects, who would be the 3 guys that you would want to hit the links with for 18?
First off, I've never broken 100 on a golf course.
Me neither.
Don't worry, neither have we.
I am in no way, shape, or form a good golfer.
Great, you're with us.
I like going out there playing once a week, maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've never broken 100. So
I got 111's my best, man. So we're not talking about being good, but if you're just picking those 3 guys that you want to go out there on a day, because I went in depth because I was like,
all-time Mets guys.
No, go Mets, current Mets minor leaguers and prospects, other guys that you've played with. Who would be the 3 that you'd pick?
Antoine Duplantis. He's a character, man. I love that dude. Antoine Duplantis. I'll exclude my college teammates because they're going to get upset, right? If Cole hears like, yo, you didn't say me, but I'm like, Cole, I love you. JT, Rowdy, love you. JT will be here tomorrow. Look, love you guys, but obviously we would be a great force in playing golf. Would love that. But excluding Rowdy, JT, and Cole, I'd say Antoine. There's a lot. My roommate last year was Brett Beatty and Matt Winokur. Would love those guys to join in. We'll go. That's tough, man. You put me on the spot, but
that's what this is all about. But
Antoine Beatty and Winokur. I'd say all my roommates through pro ball.
Beatty's the type of guy that has never driven in his life and hits it 400 yards off the tee the first time he probably swings. I could see him being that kind of guy. Just the raw athleticism that dude has.
I'm not any good at golf, but I know I could wax Brett Beatty on the golf.
That's great. So obviously you moved on to Binghamton, but you did get plenty of experience at New York City baseball. It's not Queens, it's not Citi Field, but I mean, Brooklyn's pretty cool, honestly. What were your thoughts down there? Is there any part of you that misses it? Because trust me, I'm from New York. I've been up to Binghamton. Step slower than Brooklyn, not going to lie. I know you're focused on the game, but just what was that experience like down there for a while?
Well, Brooklyn was a circus, man. It was crazy.
It's nuts.
Yeah, it's nuts. Coney Island, there's a lot of characters on Coney Island for sure. You meet some interesting people, but it was fun, man. We had a good crew in 2019. We won a short season championship. We won the last ever New York Penn League we won. It was the first championship in Brooklyn since the Brooklyn Dodgers forever ago. I forgot what year, but the Brooklyn Dodgers and the Brooklyn Cyclones were the 2 championships on Brooklyn, and happy to be a part of that. We had a good crew. Fonzie, our manager, was great. We had a really cool team that really bonded, and we got together really well. But Brooklyn was a culture shock compared to Mississippi.
That's what I was wondering.
Culture shock. It was sped up a little bit. So, but man, I freaking loved Binghamton. Binghamton was a beautiful city. Like, I call them mountains, but people, those are hills. And I was like, no, those are mountains. Okay, where I'm from, those are mountains. And you got a bunch of rivers. A lot of pretty places in Binghamton, man. I really liked it. It was a lot like Mississippi, just real slow. But man, I like New York City. And New York City is a fun place to be, man. And when you're playing baseball all day, you don't really you're at the ballpark, man. So I mean, you don't really get out and see too much stuff.
Do you notice like the weird minor league promotions going on, or does that just go by you by now? Like the last promotion I was at was in Brooklyn for baseball. You can drink combined with like a Star Wars night. Like it was just like it's just chaos. Like, did those just go past your head at this point?
I think it's a part of the nostalgic of a minor league baseball, man. You know, I think it goes hand in hand when you think of minor league baseball. You think of the crazy mascot names, you think of the crazy team names. Yeah, all that stuff, man. I freaking love it. I love it. I get paid to play baseball now. This is a dream come true for me. Like this is it. Like it's like I'd do this for free. So it's a lot of fun, man. And whatever helps bring people to games, man. We did our best to play, to have a good product on the field in Binghamton, and we did a great job. Binghamton in July, August, no one wanted to play us, man. Like we were the team to beat in August, and I mean that. We were rolling. Like towards the end of the year, our team clicked, and that's credit to our pitching staff that was really, really good in the second half of the season, and a lot of guys started to click offensively in the second half of the season. But man, overall, whatever helps put people in the stands, I'm all for.
In August, it felt like you were getting on base every day, every game, and Brett or Mark or someone was driving you in every single game. It was like foolproof. So obviously there's changes coming to minor league baseball. Getting a little more money than maybe you had in the past, and now you have the new required housing rules that are being instituted. How do you think that's going to impact, you specifically, but minor league baseball as a whole?
It's tough to comment on that because I need to see how it plays out first. We don't necessarily know if it's going to be a better thing or worse thing for guys. Like we don't know. Like it's the step in the right direction for sure. Don't get me wrong, but let's see how it plays out first. I have no idea what that'll be like, but we'll see.
Last question I want to get in here from me before I let you go, Joe. I want to take it from a listener, Steve Miller, who always sends us great stuff, wants to know from Jake, who has been the toughest pitcher you faced in pro ball so far?
Right-hander. So I was hitting left-handed. Grayson Rodriguez.
He's a stud.
Yeah, he's good. Lefty. I was hitting right-handed. DL Hall. Yeah, those two guys were real good.
Two Orioles guys.
Both Orioles. Faced them back-to-back nights. It was a real deal. It was different.
I got two more for you, and then we'll get you out of here. So you come from a family of NFL players, and obviously you played football when you were younger, but you chose baseball as your path. What do you think you learned most from them that has actually helped your baseball career?
I don't know where I would be without my dad right now. Like that dude he's just different. Like anyone that knows John Mangum, he's just different, man. He's just he's just different. He's just a different cat, man, and in a good way. Works his tail off and never asks for anything. He's the most selfless dude I've ever met in my life. And dude, if I can be anything like my dad one day, that's a good thing. But I've always liked to think that I play baseball with a football mentality. I'm going to go out there every night and I'm going to play each game like it's my last. If anyone that's seen me play over the years, that I feel like I can comfortably say that. And that's the thing, man. You never know when it is going to be your last game. So keep playing each one like it's your last. I get to go out there every night and play the game I love. So let's do it full speed. On top of that, they taught me to understand that my grandfather, who I never met, he passed away before I was born. My uncle and my dad, they really have taught me that it's hard work will eventually lap talent. It just does, man. And I wasn't uber talented growing up. I wasn't very good at sports. I just picked up. I was horrible at basketball. I'm still horrible at golf. I just don't pick up sports well. So at an early age, I played football and baseball. I was solid at football. I wasn't going to do anything with it. I was, I would have been an average high school football player, and nothing wrong with that at all. But I wanted to focus on baseball, and I love the game of football, and I wanted to bring that football mentality over to baseball, and that's try to outwork everybody, work your tail off. I had trouble controlling what I could control until my freshman year of college. That's when that kind of term kind of clicked for me, but it's so true. But the biggest thing is hard work, man. Like hard work's the biggest thing I've learned from kind of that football side of my family.
So I write you up, on SNY, talked about you here on the podcast and things like that. So for the people that haven't seen you play, what would a scouting report of Jake Mangum, the baseball player, look like?
Man, I've had some pretty bad scouting reports written on me over the years with how everything's gone so far. But man, I play every game like it's my last. One thing I always appreciated was the crowds we got at Mississippi State. And I'm going somewhere with this. Stick with me. The crowds we got at Mississippi State. And when I was a freshman, man, I was like not highly recruited. I was ranked second to worst on my team by the team going into Christmas break, and ended up having a freaking awesome freshman year. Won the batting title that year, actually, in the SEC. The only reason my freshman year head coach, John Cohen, put me in the lineup was because I got the bat to the ball. My contact skills were great. But more than that is I remember we're playing a fall baseball game, and it's like the last inning of a fall ball game. And I had a 3-hopper to the pitcher, and I ran like my best time of the fall to first base. And I remember Coach Cohen the next day in the video was like, he paused it and like stopped it. He shows this video of me grounding out to the pitcher, to Zach Houston. Yep. And he kind of just said like that's he cares. That's what he said. And that's the thing, man. I'd say that a scouting report is just like, look, this kid's gonna play his tail off. And look, I don't know what type of career I'm gonna have in professional baseball, but one thing's for sure is I'm gonna do everything I can to be the best baseball player I can be. That's it. And scouting report wise, I come find out for yourself. If you have any, come check us out, man. Whether I'm in Binghamton or Syracuse, upstate New York, come check out the Rumble Ponies and the Syracuse Mets. And if you're in Brooklyn, go check out the Cyclones, man. We got a lot of good things going in the minor leagues and a lot of good guys. So a lot of guys that are working their tail off trying to bring a great product to the New York Mets fans. And scouting report wise, man, I don't know. I'll let everybody else write those up. But all I can promise is I'm gonna play every game like it's my last.
Jake, we always love talking to you, man. Obviously, you have just an incredible attitude, easy guy to root for. And as much as for those that don't live close enough to go see him play, now you could watch the minor leagues, which is just a great development for baseball, is that people can actually watch the minors, stream the minors online. So I'm sure we'll talk to you again next offseason. It's great to see you down in Port St. Lucie, but good luck to you, and we'll be rooting for you, man.
Yeah, thank you so much. I enjoyed it, guys. If you ever need anything, let me know. God bless.